Greetings, fellow survivors. In today's episode, we join Sara in her journey of survival in the first chapter of a series dedicated to her adventure. But before we get started, be sure to put a life jacket on the like button just in case, subscribe, and very quietly hit the little notification bell, wherever it is, just to make sure that you don't miss a chapter of this epic saga. So, with that, let's go! This story picks off where we left Sara and her friends back in episode 5, following their unfortunate and fateful escape from the zombies to the sea. When we last heard of Sara, she was thrown backwards into the water. Coughing, she now gasped for air. She popped back up, thanks to the life jacket she put on in the cabin. She turned her head this way and that, looking to see if her friends were still there, but no. It didn't take long for her to realize that she was all alone. Even the horrible motor of that boat was now just a faint hum somewhere over there in the horizon. How could her friends have disappeared so quickly, just like that, she wondered. And why was she the only one left? Though this question bothered her, she put it out of her mind for now, as she had much more urgent things to worry about. Not the best swimmer, she was really glad that she chose to put on the life jacket, though now she was at the mercy of the sea, only really able to drift along to wherever it took her. With each passing hour, Sara's hope seemed to dwindle, and so she focused on conserving her energy, which was just about all she could do. The sky was clear and starry, so she laid back, letting her vest hold her head up, and gazed up at the stars and the hint of the northern lights to help remain calm. The vast universe above seemed to highlight the isolation of her current situation, she thought, and so she nodded off to sleep. Something brushed her foot, causing her to wake up suddenly. How long had she been asleep and drifting in the waves? There it was again, something cold and hard and slippery. Ow! Something sharp this time. Now fully awake but confused, panic was taking hold of Sara until she noticed that she was no longer surrounded by water. Rather than some creature of the deep nudging her foot to see if she was going to be its next meal, what she was feeling was just some rocks under the water. The currents had carried her to the rocky shore, and she was feeling the bottom. Doing her best to kick her way towards the beach, touching more and more of the rocks hidden under the water, she finally crawled ashore, tears of relief mixing with the salty sea on her face. She made it. She lay on the beach for hours, drifting in and out of sleep, though finally the warmth of the sun woke her up. She saw that the tide had gone out a bit, and so she was higher up on the beach than she expected. Looking just behind her, though, there was a small cave, one that looked like it would offer a place to hide and for her to gather her thoughts. So much had happened, and now she remembered the whole episode of the zombies that suddenly appeared on the beach, and her friends escaping the little cabin and heading out to what they thought would be the safety of the sea. But what if the same undead horde made its way to this beach and found her? This thought gave her a true sense of urgency now. At high tide, she was very well protected, she thought, but now it was really easy for them to get to her. She would have to be very quiet and resourceful, Sara thought. It was time to seriously take some action. Entering the cave and inspecting what it had to offer as a hiding place, it wasn't much, and it was fairly empty. Just dark and damp, with the walls covered in stinky green stuff. It really was stinky, she thought, but better here than out there where the zombies might get her. But it was a shelter at least, and a great place to hide, actually. There was only one entrance, which bothered her somewhat, so she thought, it'd be a great idea to gather as many of these little seashells as she could and scatter them on the floor. So that way, if any zombies made it toward the entrance of the cave, she would at least have a little bit of warning. She would also need a weapon, Sara thought. Wow, so much to do! Days turned into weeks, and Sara settled into a routine. She used the daylight hours at low tide to explore the beach and gather resources, always keeping an eye out for any suspicious-looking forms, though, and her nights were spent huddled by the small campfire, maybe cooking a fish if she managed to spear one, far back in her cave, her only company being the flickering shadows dancing on the walls. Only once did she suspect that maybe she saw a zombie walking aimlessly in the distance. When she finally came out of her hiding place, though, it was gone. So whether it was an undead or some animal, she would never know. Loneliness, though, that was a constant companion, and her thoughts often drifted to the outside world, the family and friends she missed, and the life she once knew. But Sara's determination to survive overcame her melancholy. She spent her free moments practicing her survival skills, creating tools, keeping in shape, and even inscribing the cave walls with marks to keep track of the days. With limited supplies and dwindling hope, Sara had resigned herself to the idea of spending her days in isolation, never expecting to encounter another living soul. Even the idea of a future seemed hopeless. I mean, all the cities were apparently run over with the undead now. Surely it would maybe be better to stay hidden here than to try and survive in the city. Then one evening, as she huddled by her fire, cooking some dinner she had managed to catch, she heard a soft crunching of shells by the cave's entrance. With a mixture of fear and resignation, Sara cautiously and silently grabbed her makeshift fishing spear, slowly got up, pressed her back against the cold wall, waiting to see what horror she would have to confront. What that horror would turn out to be is a story for next time. But that's all for today, friends. I hope you liked this week's story, which is the first chapter of the story of how Sara made it through the fateful confrontation with the zombie in the church. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay tuned for more epic zombie tales. And don't forget to, very quietly, hit the little notification bell so that you never miss out on the latest stories. So, until we meet again, stay spooky and keep safe. Bye-bye.